Next up, we have Shilpika Gautam is a India-born former investment banker, and she swapped her corporate life for the pursuit of adventurous activism. She has just completed the first ever stand-up paddleboard descent of the River Ganges from source to sea, using adventure as a way to advocate for the importance of clean water. She also believes that leading a world's first expedition, especially with a team of all boys, and in a country like India, is really not much different from being on the trading floor of a bank. So please welcome Shilpika.
So I believe not all of us may have a passion, but we all have a purpose. To discover mine, I decided to stand up paddleboard the Ganges, to raise awareness for cleaner water, but also to have a grand adventure and to reconnect with the country that I was born in, but had been away for 10 years. Ironically, at this point, I knew fuck all about adventure, stand-up paddling, or really about water pollution. But let me also give you some context for that. That's me, really cute. When you grow up in India, the idea of adventure, the idea of accomplishment is consulting, investment banking, all of that. By that measure, I'm a legend, and a douchebag was saying just that. But I decided if something was going to change, I had to do something massive. So I decided to paddle from the top of a glacier down to the bottom. Everyone told me I was going to be raped, murdered, kidnapped, maybe all of that, maybe hopefully not all together. And the idea was to really talk about and discover stories that changed the river, but also how the river is changing the lives of people who live next to it. So I Googled how to plan an expedition. Al's blog came up, actually. So I figured I'll need a team, I'll need some equipment, I would need sponsors, I definitely wanted a partner on the ground, and I needed money, and a lot of recklessness, and definitely some practice on the water. So I did all of that, and with all of those things in place, I got myself to the mouth of the river. This is the Gangotri Glacier where the river starts. Now the hope was that somehow, using a human-powered mean and definitely a paddleboard, we would get ourselves about the 3,000-kilometer journey to the very end. Things don't always go as planned. It was fucking horrible. It was terrible. The trek was terrible to get to the water, but as long as you look really cool, that was the point. And that is really cool and really awesome because that was the only time we were standing on the boards. We had no idea how to stand up paddle white waters, but coolness rules. And somehow, body surfing, swimming, we got ourselves into the lap of God, literally. So this is a really special slide because you can literally paddle into this congregation of people who worship this river, but the very people who also pollute it. And to go in here and to understand how people work and how religion can change the environment was really special, but also we needed divine blessings for what was to come, which is the Ganges obstacle course, which you're about to see. Now, the Ganges at any point can be 10 to 35 kilometers wide. When you've never done an expedition, navigation is a challenge, but also you don't really want to get stuck in a dodgy part because the floodplain is about 8 kilometers wide. So how are you going to get your food? How are you going to get your water? All of that becomes really pertinent. One of the things that people always ask me, did you ever fall in? I did, but not there. That is the side that greets you every single time you go into a city. There is this massive sewage emptying a human or a city's full of shit right next to where you are. The stench is unbearable, but that's also the reality of how people live their lives. And it's not what any adventure should look like. But then that wasn't enough because we had the fog. We had this fog for 3 weeks. It was miserably cold. It was terrible. And then you had these really dodgy boats all around, and you would just kind of stand there and be like, oh my God, where is it coming from? I don't really want to fall in. It's not good. And that's just reality of not knowing what might hit you, weather or capability-wise. And then there is my nemesis. That is a barrel bridge that is often full of whirlpools right there, really dodgy ropes and all of that, and I fell in quite a few times. The one time I really fell in, it was really terrible. I am really glad I escaped because I was told later there's crocodiles in there. So the other beautiful thing about India, which is shocking and amazing at the same time, is that there's no privacy. There's people everywhere. They're curious. They want to know everything from how you shit to what you eat to like whatever. There is just no space. But also people who are just wonderful and resilient, who have absolutely nothing. And they're full of life. This I love because first, there's no women in there. And these guys were at a cremation just there, But it was so fascinating for them to see how we were setting a camp that they left a burning or half-burned body right there. Curiosity is amazing. So when I couldn't find the women, I figured I had to go and knock on their door and really understand how the other half of the world lives. And that is the beauty of being a woman on adventure. It opens up a huge segment of women or people that you would just never access otherwise. People who make a difference, people who are at the heart of change in society. And I think that's the privilege of being an adventurer and as a woman. But it wasn't all about the people. There was wildlife, like these dolphins. 867 of them, I counted. It was fun. And then there was birds, and there was just this beautiful sense of being, out in the wild and seeing things that you'd never see, and things that give you hope that the river is not dead yet. And then other things, ingenuity, like these women on in the tin boat, or paddling past the oldest living city in the world, Varanasi, or seeing these people who sort of chilling with their cattle in the middle of the river, and these misty mornings, and it's just special, it's just celebration of life. And then there's death. When there's life, there's death. And this is particularly shocking because this is the moment I realized that I just didn't care anymore. I was desensitized to the idea of seeing a dead body right next to where I was having lunch. And this is the kind of thing which can really throw you off what you think you're capable of. If you can't connect with the emotional aspect of being on an adventure, if you can't connect to the idea of why you're doing it, it's hard to stay focused. So unfortunately, by the time we finished, our team of 4 had become a team of 2, but there was a singular purpose, this desire to connect with what was important and what was pertinent. So 3,000 kilometers, 101 days later, this is us at the finish. That's my mom. My mom's, her favorite moment was just like, I am so glad you finished because now we can actually get you married. If there's 3 things I can take away from this adventure, and I'm not an adventurer in the sense of the stuff, is purpose can be driven by, or passion can be driven by purpose. And there is an inner Durga. Now, Durga is the Indian goddess of invincibility, of power and destruction all at the same time. There is an inner Durga, in your case, Sarah or Tim. They all exist. There is that person inside you. And unless you challenge that person, you're never going to know where your boundaries are, where your limits are. And once you do that, you find what I call the cloak of invincibility. This idea that nothing is impossible, that whatever life throws at you, it's doable, that you're not going to fail. And that is a feeling that I encourage you all to live for. Thank you.